One of the key points that the Rebbe had made in the SICHAH thus far was a distinction between Torah as a matana to that of the other two descriptives, Yerusha and Mechira. That distinction hinged on the respective roles and relationship on the part of the recipient. With both Yerusha and Mechira, the recipient can impact the level of reward that is received, or in other words, the levels of Kedusha that one may attain through their involvement with the study of Torah. In the case of Yerusha, whatever investment of time and energy in Torah study, there will be a return by virtue of the fact that there's an intrinsic connection between the recipient and the provider. In the case of Mechira, the return will hinge upon the degree of investment that the recipient involves him or herself with mitzvat limud Torah. Whereas with the reward that comes as a matana, that reward comes at the discretion of the provider, the giver. It is not quantitatively or qualitatively related to the amount of effort that the recipient has invested. The Kabbalistic term for this revelation of Kedusha is that it is an itaruta de le'ela. In part 2, the Rebbe will demonstrate that the itaruta de le'ela that comes as a matana, and here it should be pointed out that we are dealing with a matnat chinam, a matana in its purest form, one that has no strings attached, is also predicated upon the relationship that the recipient has with the provider, the giver. This nuanced redefinition of the relationship is based upon a statement drawn from Masechet Gittin Daf Nun Amud Bet, in which the Gemara, in discussing a complex issue that we shall look at in the next panel, makes a common sense statement that has legal implications. The statement is that Lo Yahiv Le Matana, one does not give another a gift, Ilav Deit Le Hana Mimnei, were it not for the fact that at some point in time the giver, the provider, had received hana'ah, pleasure, enjoyment, satisfaction from the recipient. For this satisfaction, he or she will reciprocate by giving an itaruta de le'ela, a matnat chinam, a matana in its purest form, one without ulterior motives. This is not to be confused with the concept of a birthday or anniversary gift that the one gives, for such a matana does not classify as a matnat chinam. Such a matana generally can be expected from the giver on account of a relationship that exists either through birth or through marriage. Herein lies the difference between receiving something on account of Yerusha or Mechira, in that there is an implied expectation that he or she receive a matana on the basis of a relationship, family, money, contractual, that exists between the giver and the receiver. The Rebbe argues that in all three cases of Yerusha, Mechira, and Matana, the response from the giver, in this case HaKadosh Baruch Hu, comes about on account of a relationship that exists with the recipient. The only difference is that in the case of Yerusha and Mechira, the process is instigated by the recipient through his or her actions or intrinsic connection, which results in a response from the giver. In the case of a matana, although it is deemed to be a matnat chinam, after all is said and done, however, it is the non-tangible hana'ah, satisfaction, received by the source, the giver, the provider, that results in the itaruta de le'ela, an unencumbered gift to the recipient. What needs to be worked through now is what form does this hana'ah, received by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, take that activates the matnat chinam, the itaruta de le'ela.